Death is an inevitable part of life. The pain of loss differs depending on who dies. So when a sitting president dies, a nation is ordinarily united in grief. More often, the grief extends to the sub-region and the continent at large. An expected example is the case of anti-apartheid activist and global icon Nelson Mandela, whose death united the world in grief. World leaders descended on South Africa to pay their respect to the man South Africa still celebrates till date, Tata Madiba. Overall, 10 African countries buried their incumbent leaders, beside 2009 that recorded 2 deaths. 2008, 2010, 2011 and 2014 recorded single casualties. 2012 turned out to be Africa's most difficult year of grief as 4 leaders died. The most affected countries was the tiny West African country of Guinea Bissau. They lost 2 leaders in a spate of 3 years. The first 8-long-serving leader was assassinated in 2009, while his successor died of diabetes 4 years later in Paris. So on this documentary, we take a deep dive into exit on duty, Africa's presidents who died in office. Number 1 on our list, Lansana Conté of Guinea-Bissau. 22nd of December 2008, the man who served as Guinea's second post-independent leader, won 3 elections during his over 2-decade stay in charge, came to power in April 3rd of 1984 and ruled for 24 years, died at the age of 74 years. The known cause of his death is diabetes and heart complications. Took over from acting president Louis Lansana, who was prime minister of first president Ahmad Touré, succeeded by Alpha Condé, the incumbent, in 2010 after 2 acting heads of government. Next on the list, Omar Bongo of Gabon. 8th June of 2009, he was one of the continent's longest-serving leaders till his death in 2009. He came to power in 1969 and ruled the oil-rich Central African nation for over 4 decades till his death. He came to power in 1967 and ruled for 42 years and died at the age of 72 in Spanish city of Barcelona. The cause of his death is undisclosed illness. Took over from Leon Mba, first president of the country, and was succeeded by Ali Bongo Ondimba, his son and minister at the time. Next on the list, Bernardo Vieira of Guinea-Bissau, March 2nd of 2009. Vieira was a 3-time president of the West African nation of Guinea-Bissau. He served a total of 2 decades in charge till his assassination in the capital. Came to power in 1980, ruled 3 periods, 1980 to 1984, 1984 to 1999, 2005 to 2009. He ruled for 23 years and died at the age of 69. Took over power from first president of the country. Next on our list is Umaru Musa Yar'Adua of Nigeria. 5th May of 2010. He was the second civilian president under Nigeria's current constitution. He won controversial polls after his predecessor Olusegun Obasanjo's plan to extend his stay from 1999 to 2007 got stiff opposition from the then ruling People's Democratic Party, the PDP. He came to power in 2007 and ruled for 3 years, died at the age of 58 in Saudi Arabia, flown back to Nigeria for burial. The known cause of his death was inflammation of membranes around the heart. Took over from Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, first civilian president under 99 Constitution. He was succeeded by his then Vice President, Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. Up next is Muammar Gaddafi of Libya, 20th of October 2011. One of the most flamboyant and controversial political leaders of the last century, Gaddafi's rise and fall is a subject of more debate till date. He was killed by rebel forces that captured him in his hometown following a NATO-backed revolution in 2011. It was widely thought that his son was going to be successor, but with his father killed, his son is a subject of local and international court summons. Came to power in 1969 through a bloodless coup, ruled for 42 years and was killed at the age of 69. Took over from King Idris I, who at the time was seeking medical attention in Turkey. No successor as yet. Libya is divided between political factions after Gaddafi was shot dead in 2011 by rebels. Up next we have Malam Basia Sahan of Guinea-Bissau, August of 2012. Malam Sanha took over at a difficult time in the West African country. He succeeded assassinated leader Bernardo Vieira. Throughout his stay in office, he suffered from health complications till his death in 2012. Sanha came to power in 2012. He governed for 30 years period and died at the age of 64 in a Paris hospital. He took over from assassinated leader of the country. He was succeeded by the current president, José Vaz. After a string of leaders acted in presidential capacity, the cause of his death was given as diabetes. Bingu Mutharika of Malawi, April of 2012. Bingu, until his death, was credited with broad success in Malawi's food and agricultural sector. He came to power in 2004 through the ballot box and secured re-election but died before his second term ended. He came to power in 2004, ruled for 8 years, and died at the age of 78. He took over from Bakili Muluzi. He was succeeded by Jose Banda, Africa's second female head of state. The known cause of his death is believed to have been related to heart-related issues. He suffered a heart attack in April of 2012 and died 2 days later. We also have on our list John Evans Fifi Atal Mills of Ghana, 2012. John Mills, a former vice president of Ghana, also managed to get the presidency on his third attempt. The former tax expert and law professor was also credited with economic and social reform during his over 3 years reign. He became president in 2008 after beating the ruling party's candidate at the polls. His reign lasted over 3 years. Elections were due when he passed on at the age of 68. He took over from John Kofu, who had served his full 8 years term. He was succeeded by John Dramani Mahama, his then vice, who went on to win the 2012 elections. The cause of death was reported as stroke and throat cancer. It has been the source of disagreement as family continue to push for exact cause of the deaths on years. Melis Zenawi of Ethiopia, August of 2012. Zenawi was by far the most powerful Ethiopian politician from the 90s through to the 20s. He is, to date, one man who has served as president 1999 to 1995 and prime minister in 1995 till his death. He was loved and lauded, loved for introducing multi-party politics to the country, but lauded for the violent crackdown on protests by Oromo ethnic group. The protests have not stopped and the crackdown has also not died down in the pro-Zenawi era. Zenawi rose to power in 1991 and was leader of the country for over 2 decades. He died at the age of 57 in Belgium. He led the country right after fighting the Dark regime in liberation war that lasted years. The country prime minister took over when Zenawi passed on. The cause of his death was said to be an undisclosed illness. Michael Sata of Zambia, October 28 of 2014. The last African leader to have exited duty is Zimbabwe's Michael Sata. He died 3 years after winning elections held in 2011. There were widespread rumors about his falling health after the polls. His absence at major functions also deepened speculations about his well-being. He died while seeking medical treatment in the United Kingdom. Came to power in 2011 after winning elections. He was leader for 3 years before his death, aged at 77. He succeeded Banda and was succeeded by incumbent Lungu, aside the case of Guinea Bissau, where President Vieira was assassinated in 2009, and in Libya, where Gaddafi was shot dead. The 8 others died of various ailments. There are those whose cause of death are known, while that of others remain undisclosed or unknown. Another trend that runs through is the overseas deaths. Half of the leaders died while seeking medical treatment outside. Belgium, France, the UK, Saudi Arabia and Spain all featured in this very documentary. It brings into sharp focus the issue of Sikh African presidents and the choice of overseas medical treatment, a subject that we are going to discuss subsequently on this channel. African Sikh president and the overseas medical treatment. Take a look at Africa's president and how they seek for medical treatment overseas. First, we have the former Nigerian president, Muhammadu Buhari, seeks for medical treatment in the United Kingdom. In Angola, we have leader Don Santo, who seeks for medical treatment in Spain. Zimbabwe's Mugabe, Singapore, and Benes Talon seek for medical treatment in France. And Tanzania's first lady, who was treated in a public hospital. And that's what we have on this very documentary video. Presidents in Africa who died during their time in office. Up next, we're going to be looking at African leaders who were assassinated by foreign forces while in seat in Africa. Thank you so much for watching. Remember to hit the subscribe button and also tap the notification bell for subsequent videos on this channel. Thank you so much for watching.